conference held in Paris's District 1 City Hall to call for action over Iran's 1988 massacre. An event commemorating Iran's 1988 massacre of political prisoners was held on Friday in Paris District 1's City Hall. The conference, titled Iran Massacred Human Rights, 31st Anniversary Massacre of 30,000 Political Prisoners in 1988, brought together French lawmakers, mayor, and human rights activists who appealed to the French government and the United Nations to hold Iranian officials accountable for their crime against humanity. Iranian opposition leader Maryam Rajavi sent a message to the conference saying, "The time has come for the international community to end 3 decades of impunity for the clerical regime's leaders in accounting for their crimes. The dossier of human rights violations in Iran, particularly the massacre in 1988, must be referred to the UN Security Council. Khamenei and other leaders of the Iranian regime must face justice for committing crimes against humanity. The United Nations must launch an international mission to investigate the 1988 massacre in Iran, and the world must recognize the Iranian people's right to resist and fight for the overthrow of the ruling religious fascism." Iran regime further breaches 2015 nuclear deal. The Iranian regime has further breached its nuclear deal with world powers, increasing its stock of enriched uranium and refining it to a greater purity than allowed, a report by the United Nations Atomic Energy Agency said on Friday. The quarterly report from the International Atomic Energy Agency, which is policing the 2015 deal, confirms Iran's regime is progressively backing out of the deal. In July, the IAEA said Iran's regime exceeded both a 202.8 kilogram limit on its enriched uranium stock and its 3.67% cap on the fissile purity to which it's allowed to refine uranium. Friday's quarterly report to member states obtained by Reuters said the Iranian regime has accumulated 241.6 kilogram of enriched uranium and is enriching at around the same level as before, up to 4.5%. U.S. Treasury targets oil tanker Adrian Darya 1 and its captain. The U.S. Department of Treasury's Office of Foreign Assets Control took action on Friday against Adrian Darya 1, an oil tanker transporting 2.1 million barrels of Iranian crude oil, ultimately benefiting the Iranian regime's Revolutionary Guards Quds Force. The Adrian Darya 1 was sanctioned based on a law which targets terrorists and those providing support to terrorism or acts of terrorism. U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo said in a tweet, "Today the U.S. Treasury designated the Adrian Darya 1 and its captain for providing assistance to the IRGC to sell illicit oil from Iran to Syria. The U.S. will not idly watch the Assad regime use Iranian oil to terrorize its own people." Irish lawmaker says Iran's regime is dying. It is time to support the opposition. Iran's regime is in its dying days, and Europe should look to the Iranian resistance as a democratic alternative to the mullah's rule. Former Irish minister and lawmaker John Perry argues. In an op-ed for the Eurasia Review, on August 29, Mr. Perry pointed out that Iran's regime is extremely unpopular among both Iranians and regional countries, and is today the greatest threat to a prosperous Iran and to stability and peace in the Middle East and the world. The Iranian regime and its Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps have systematically violated human rights, prosecuted, tortured, and killed an uncountable number of Iranians over the course of 40 years. A key component that has been overlooked for too long is the organized Iranian opposition. Mr. Perry pointed out that the NCRI has both a strong support among Iranians as well as politicians and parliamentarians from the US, Canada, Europe, and the Arab world. Its progressive leader, Maryam Rajavi, has presented a 10-point plan for the future of Iran, which envisions and guarantees a free, democratic, secular, non-nuclear, and peaceful Iran, with an independent judiciary system that respects the Universal Declaration of Human Rights.